American Graffiti, first requested to me by Quak the Mandalorian and directed and co-written by George Lucas, is a 1973 coming-of-age film that takes place in 60s California where some teenagers are enjoying their last night before college. The film follows the adventures of various characters as they explore the town of Modesto, California, and the ups and downs along the way. Friendships and romance are tested as these teenagers attempt to live it up together one last time. Alright, so I definitely knew American Graffiti existed, which I can't say for a lot of these requests I've done so far. We're like 90 requests deep now, and I've been introduced to some awesome films through these requests that I never would have even heard of, let alone seen, if not for you guys. So thank you again for that. A lot of these requests have been really great and really have expanded my horizons. But as far as American Graffiti goes, I knew it existed because I knew George Lucas directed it. You know, big Star Wars fan here, as I've told you guys. But I had never seen American Graffiti before now. Well, thank God for this request because this movie is really, really good. I had a blast with it, and I really think it does a lot of things super well. This is definitely one of the best films I've seen in a while, and definitely one of the best coming-of-age films I've seen in a while, because even though the time period is vastly different than the time in which I grew up as a teenager, I felt it was an excellent depiction of what these high school adventure nights are like. Of course, they're a little more cinematic than what a typical night might be like, but the film strikes the balance between the real and the cinema perfectly. I think part of the brilliance from that stems from the dialogue. You know, the way these characters interact with one another is just so authentic feeling, and it helps develop the relationships between them in a way that keeps you invested in those ups and downs that they experience together. Every conversation holds weight because each of them does push the story forward towards helping us understand who the characters are and where they're going next, or just simply who they are as people, not just that night, but just in general. And there's some comedic moments thrown in there as well, but I think that the conversations feel authentic to the time. And, you know, they feel authentic to the ages of the characters and to the reactions they have when they experience, you know, things they want to experience and some things they don't. American Graffiti always had me hooked in part because of how alive this city felt. There's so much going on that can keep your attention. And, you know, with the film following several different storylines as characters get into their own little side adventures, it just makes for an experience that you don't want to end. And I think, in a way, that's kind of the point. The characters are spending their last night together before a few of them head off to college, and they're trying to live it up as much as possible, you know, in the time they have left together. They don't want it to end either, and that's where some of the interesting drama comes into play, because a few of the characters are struggling to deal with change, you know, dealing with stepping outside their comfort zone. And these are all things we as humans deal with, not just as teenagers, but throughout our lives. And I think American Graffiti really does hit the nail on the head when it tackles these types of serious concepts through these awesome characters. I really liked how the film strikes that coming of age balance between, you know, the comedic, the heartfelt, and the fun, and of course the thoughtful. And something else to like are those characters I mentioned and their performances. There wasn't a character in this film that I didn't like. I felt like they all were able to bring some sort of value to the film in their own way, whether it be through comedy or through their relatability or simply their entertainment value. I think that what's really impressive is that you're able to follow each of them throughout the night as they get into all sorts of things, and none of it ever feels like it's unessential to the story. The way in which like 7 or 8 stories are weaved into one story is just really impressive, and a rare coming of age story that's able to pull off development for a multitude of characters at once rather than just one character. There really is no true main character in this movie. It's very much an ensemble cast, and it works better for this specific story, I think, because the film always keeps the energy levels fairly high. Eventful things are happening to at least one character at a time, and that's typically the character you're following at that moment. And if you're not, then there's some great conversations going on that are just simply entertaining. So, you know, this couldn't happen without great performances. It couldn't succeed without great performances. But American Graffiti has those in abundance. Ron Howard's in this movie. Harrison Ford is actually in this movie for a little bit. But the dynamic I liked in this movie the most was between two characters who just kind of randomly end up together. And that's Milner and Carol. Milner is a bit of a tough guy, and Carol is a young girl who's trying to prove that she's mature and fun. And these two, of course, don't get along too well at first. You know, but as time goes on, their friendship becomes one of the more entertaining aspects of the film because of how funny most of the conversations are. There's really a lot to go into with this movie, more than I could really touch on in a review, considering there's so many characters and so much happening. But I will say that I think every character has such a distinct personality that it feels like someone you probably know or have met at some point. This is a movie that, despite the time period, feels very relatable because of the personalities of the characters, the themes about coming of age, and the relationship dynamics. This is definitely one of the best coming of age films I've ever seen because it checks all of the boxes you want to see from a film like this. It's relatable, it's funny and fun, it's heartwarming, and it has its fair share of drama to keep you invested in the great characters. As for the pros cons, for the pros, American Graffiti has excellent characters and performances, it's well written, it has an excellent atmosphere, and it's fun and engaging. As for the cons, there's really not a bad thing I could say about this movie. I think it's great and it kept me really engaged throughout. American Graffiti gets a 10 out of 10 from me, and I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already, if you like coming of age films. I think this one is probably better for adults than kids considering some of the themes, so just keep that in mind. So have you guys seen American Graffiti before? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. Also, I just wanted to say that I hope you guys are staying safe out there, because this whole coronavirus thing has really turned the world upside down for the time being at the very least. And for the foreseeable future, it looks like. So since the movie theaters are closed, I'll obviously be sticking with requests for a while, but I will be posting some other things here and there. So please make sure, if you're willing, to follow me on Instagram at Will_Foxification, so you can interact with me more regularly, and I post a lot of different things there. A lot of stuff I think you would enjoy, hopefully. So let me know in the comments how you're doing and whether you've seen American Graffiti, of course, and then we'll go from there. Either way, this is WillFoxification signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next review.